Hey everyone, welcome back to Simming History, where we look at the history of architecture through the lens of The Sims. But today, instead of history, we are going to do a holiday build from one of my all-time favorite holiday movies. Of course, it absolutely has to be the Home Alone house. So let's get started. So Home Alone for me has always been one of those go-to holiday movies, specifically me and my dad. It's one of our all-time favorites. We always watch it together every single year. And my dad is actually the person I got my love of the holidays from. A lot of people ask me this. I'm very well known for loving Christmas. And they're always surprised to hear that because my dad is not known for that. But as a kid, he always made a big deal of like decorating the house and watching the holiday movies for me. And that's always stuck, with me throughout my entire life. So these days, we don't really decorate our houses together, but we do get together on Christmas and we watch movies, and Home Alone is always featured, along with, I will admit, Die Hard. And at least one showing of A Christmas Story. But this, I think, is the one that everyone enjoys the most. It's just so funny, especially the last 30 or so minutes, when just all HE double toothpicks breaks loose. And every single time it's just like, no burglar in their right mind would actually put themselves through this. Really. Burglars are in this for the easy game. They're not in this for any difficulty. But it's just so funny. It's just so funny. And it's always such a crowd pleaser to watch this movie. And I don't know if you know this, but on Netflix they actually have a series called The Movies That Made Us or something. And this is not sponsored. But they did an episode on Home Alone. It's actually really interesting. Some things I already knew, like although the exterior of the house that they used is a real home in a Chicago suburb, the interior is not inside that house. Shooting inside that house was going to be way too small, so they actually built a set. And they built that set inside the gym of the New Trier High School, which was an abandoned school used for several of John Hughes' movies. And in this case, they actually built an entire 2-story house inside the gymnasium. And what's more, they built it to match the actual house. Like if you go look at the layout of the actual original home, it matches the layout in the movie. So unlike some other builds, I'm looking at you, Golden Girls, there was no great gymnastics trying to make these rooms make sense. It just is the layout of the house. And really it just came down to the interior dressings. Which, and it feels absurd to say this considering how many times I have seen this movie, it had to be pointed out to me that the entire interior of the home is all done in red, green, white, and gold. And this was deliberate. They were making a Christmas movie, so they made the interior of the house as Christmassy as possible. Which is not only appropriate, but really funny, because the set designer, John Muto, doesn't actually like Christmas. So can you imagine being someone who doesn't like Christmas and getting assigned this house? And being told it has to look like Christmas threw up in it? Like, how would you do that? Now, you're seeing me move through from room to room, outfitting the rooms, and I am trying to keep as true to the movie as possible. Just like with Clue, I basically had to watch the movie kind of on a stop and go, taking notes of what was in each room, what was on each wall. But you're also going to notice I'm skipping a couple rooms. That's because not every room was actually included in the movie. And some rooms just simply aren't shown. We see the doors, we know there's something there. We might even see people going inside that room, but they never show it. So I did not film my furnishing of those rooms. I did ultimately furnish them for the final build. You'll see them in the final shots, but I mean, we're here for the movie set, are we not? Of course, the kitchen. You've got to get the kitchen right. I mean, this is such a center point of the movie. This is where the initial kerfuffle happens with the family and the pizza. And then later, when he uses the movie to scare away the pizza delivery person, and then again the bad guys. Unfortunately, Sims did not have a door that had a dog flap in it, so no dog flap to shoot Marv through. You do what you can. And I know I said that they filmed the interior of the house on a set, but they did actually use the exterior for all the exterior shots. And you know the scenes with all the snow? It was kind of this rule that on a day it snowed, everything just got canceled and they had to run to the house. And that's what happened. The day it finally snowed, so they could finally shoot those shots, they just canceled all the planned shoots for that day and they basically just ran for the house. Because they had to get that snowy last day with the family coming back and everything, and you can't do that without it actually actively snowing. So we're moving on to the upstairs here. Oh, there we go. Add some lights. I was about to say it's getting awfully dark. The other thing I noticed when I was trying to furnish the home is, although there's a lot of artwork on the walls, they're all like natural prints. It was all prints of birds and animals, all red and green. The only exception, I think, was in the master bedroom where the prints depicted people. But everywhere else, it was all plants and animals. And I tried to make do with best I could given choices that were available in Sims, which certainly weren't made for this sort of themed build. But it wasn't easy, and getting wall color matches was not easy either. Just don't have quite the right wallpaper for a, 90s house, 90s traditional home in Chicago, done up in Christmas colors. I actually had to do the roofs several times to get this right. This roof ultimately had to be deleted and redone. For whatever reason, the attic didn't want to cut the roof, which then meant I couldn't put the stairs up to the attic. And we had to have the attic. I mean, that's where he falls asleep on that couch sofa, the pull-out, and misses the flight. We have to have the attic. But it took forever to get it right. I don't know why. Also took some doing to get this back door correct, because ultimately there's not supposed to be any steps on that back door. You're just supposed to be able to walk into it, and the only steps are supposed to be down to the basement. So that did take some maneuvering. It doesn't in the end quite look like how it did in the movie, but it's close. Gotta get that front porch. And then finally the rooms. This is the kids' room. I think Kevin and his eldest brother's room. This is the only room with bunk beds, and of course Sims doesn't have bunk beds currently. One day, perhaps, then I'll post an update. But this room, we actually only see it in two separate angles, so you don't really see two full walls. So it's just kind of guesswork. What's there? Throw up some posters, move on. Likewise, this bathroom, we only see one shot, and that is towards the sink. So, you just sort of have to make it work. And then, of course, Buzz's room. Unfortunately, didn't have the Chicago Bulls merchandise that he has all over his room. Or the Sports Illustrated swimwear posters that he has all over his room. But I tried to get as close as I could, including a bright red trash can. That will show up momentarily. And of course had to add some sports posters on the walls. And of course his wall of shelves. And of course Sims doesn't have as spiders for pets, but they do have frogs. So I did make sure to add a frog tank and some balls and some trophies, and eventually I think a trunk. Could not get that basketball to cooperate though. It just has a lot of shelves, and unfortunately there's not a lot of clutter in Sims that are kind of, fitting for those shelves. So you just sort of have to make do. And the kids' rooms also, we didn't have quite the right wallpaper, which was, of course, the entire house, we didn't have quite the right wallpaper. Master bedroom. They actually had a huge master bedroom. If this is the genuine size of the master bedroom of this house, I am impressed. It's enormous. In the movie, one whole half of it is used as like a sewing space for the mom, complete with a dress form, a folding table, a sewing table. I mean, they really just have so much stuff in here. Given the rest of the space in the house, I would have thought there would be a different area you could set up as a sewing area, but still, applause to the set designers, because they really made sure this set was full of everything you'd expect to see of a busy home with 5 children. It was filled with clutter, it was filled with just the detritus of life, really, and it looked like a normal family's home. And I know it's what they do for a living, but I don't think I could do it as well. And obviously, because this house is not nearly as cluttered as the one in the movie. I'm not one who enjoys adding a bunch of clutter to my Sims homes. It's just time consuming. It's one of my least favorite activities, right up there with landscaping, which is why you never see me landscape any builds in here. So here are the furnished plans with what I'm guessing are the purposes of those empty, unseen rooms. And of course the attic. I'm not showing you the plan for the basement because it's just a room with a bunch of boxes. One more thing before I go. I've already said what my favorite part of the movie is. The chaos, the end. But what is your favorite part of the movie? Let me know in the comments section down below. Thanks for joining me for this special holiday episode of Simming History. This is going to be the last episode this year, but we will be back next year with new topics and new series and new things to look at. Until then, if you enjoyed this video, please do hit like and subscribe. Hitting like does help the channel out. And you can find me at Instagram at Simming History, where I post teasers of upcoming episodes when I remember to do so. And you can find me on the Sims 4 gallery, where there will be a playable version of this build. So, until next year, happy holidays, happy new year, bye.